I first introduced you to Modine and Neil Brinker back on August of 2023. I shared with you that he owns a heating and air conditioning company, and he's gotten into the business of cooling data centers. Excuse me if I stammer a bit, but I'm in my 8th day of COVID and I have trouble concentrating. But I thought this was important and I wanted to share it with you because I think Neil has hooked onto something that is going to make Modine a integral part of the change in our world that's coming as a result of artificial intelligence. What has happened? In fact, I did 3 videos in the August through November period. When Modine was selling for about $45 a share. It's now doubled in price. And I think it's important for you to understand why. Modine is in, as I said, the heating and air conditioning business. It's a large business. They represent roughly less than 1% of the market share of the business. But someone came to them and said, hey, we've got an issue. We have these big buildings called data centers, and we have servers in them, and they generate heat. And you're in the commercial air conditioning business. Could you help us cool these buildings? Well, understand a data center is many football fields. It has millions of servers in them, and they generate heat. So you have to have a massive ground around it through which to displace that heat outside and then bring fresh air in to cool them. Well, that all worked fine until we got into this artificial intelligence thing, and these high-powered computers put out even more amounts of heat. And so it became a bigger and bigger problem. And Modine created a special division to work on this and work with these tech companies who needed air conditioning. So they have grown, and they have grown substantially, and they have recognized that this is the real growth area of their business. And I can show you some figures here that their business is growing, but it's growing from the data center element of it, not from the heat, the commercial and the real estate or residential cooling. And so, in fact, parts of those are down. And in fact, their revenues aren't growing all that much, but their earnings are going through the roof. Their earnings this last year were up 29%, whereas their revenues were pretty flat. Other than their revenues in their data centers, they were up about 34%. Overall sales are only up 2%, but margins are up 52%. So they have found a niche that is not really recognized but by the rest of the industry, and because they're nimble, they are able to satisfy this itch that big tech has, and the itch is getting worse. But as you can see, as they look at their outlook in the future, they're saying their sales are going to be up 4 to 7%. But their earnings are going to be up 44 to 48%, and all of that growth is coming from the data centers as they're growing 60 to 70%. Well, this gives some tremendous growth to their stock. Let me show you here a chart on their stock and how their stock is growing by 245% over the last year, whereas their competition has grown by about 26%. So what I want to share with you is I told you about this, and here's a chart on Modine stock, and I've laid in where I did the 3 videos that when it was back around $45 a share, and now it's over 90. But the question then becomes, have they had their run? Is it over? And the answer to that is no, by no means whatsoever. In fact, let me share with you something. Go to your phone and ask it a question and see how long it takes for that question to be answered on Google. And you're going to see it's going to take maybe a second to 2 seconds for Google to generate that answer. Well, that's called latency. That's the amount of time it takes from you to make a request for data and then for it to be returned to you. Now, that latency grows by the distance that you are away from the data center. So you've got to go out and make a request for that data. It travels through the lines and gathers the information, takes it and sends it back to you, and that's the 1 to 2 second delay. That's latency. And that doesn't really cause a whole big problem. When you go to BART and you ask it for some information, it takes maybe 3 seconds for BART or ChatGPT to answer your question. And then again, that's latency. No big deal. You can deal with it. But wait a second. You're driving an autonomous automobile. You're in a 55-mile-an-hour zone. You're doing 55. The light is green, and a 7-year-old steps out into the lane. Do you have 2 seconds for your autonomous automobile to stop? No, you do not. You do not have a millisecond for that car to stop. So how is that going to work if there is a 2 second delay? If there is a eighth of a second delay, it won't. So what do you have to do? You've got to get the data center closer to the automobile. Well, how do you do that? You need a massive field to house this massive building that is generating heat, and you can't do it. So does that mean that autonomous automobiles are never going to happen? No, we got to get that data center closer to the vehicle. So how do you do that? You submerge those servers in liquid. You put them in a swimming pool. That's what you do. Because with a liquid, the right liquid, you can transfer that heat out quicker and have a smaller facility to offer autonomous automobiles. Well, how are you going to get that done?
Modine, a diversified global leader in innovative thermal management solutions, announced today that it had purchased the intellectual property and other specific assets of TMG Core, a specialist in single- and two-phase liquid immersion cooling technology for data centers with high-density computing requirements. Modine's investment in liquid immersion cooling technology advances our strategy to expand our global data center product offering and capture market opportunities that help us achieve our long-term growth targets, said Neil Brinker, President and Chief Executive Officer of Modine. This investment strengthens Modine's position in the rapidly growing data center market, providing our customers with advanced solutions to support high-density, accelerated computing applications, such as generative artificial intelligence, 5G, and machine learning. This investment positions Modine to capture share in the rapidly developing data center liquid cooling market, which analysts forecast to reach $7.8 billion by 2028. Liquid immersion cooling involves submerging IT servers in tanks filled with non-conductive fluid that dissipates the heat generated by the IT load. This process enables increased computing density in a sealed environment and supports reduced energy and water consumption, along with the potential for heat reclaim. Liquid immersion cooling also serves edge data center applications where data processing must be closer to the source to reduce latency, such as in autonomous vehicles. Modine's investment in liquid immersion cooling technology expands the innovative solutions our Airedale brand can offer throughout the thermal chain, allowing us to cover air, liquid and hybrid systems, said Eric McGuinness, President, Modine Climate Solutions. Our customers lean on us to help them solve the heat problem in next-generation, mission-critical IT applications where they need to maximize processing efficiency while complying with increasingly strict emissions and energy efficiency requirements. We look forward to working with our key customers and partners in this increasingly critical area, supplying complete systems with intuitive controls that are manufactured and supported globally.
Guess who's leading the charge to build swimming pools for all your data centers? It's a guy by the name of Neil Brinker. That's right. And you heard it first from Kerry Grinkmeyer. That's me. Okay? This is where this is going. This is a huge problem that is being satisfied by a small company that represents less than 1% of the overall market share of the heating and cooling business, located in Racine, Wisconsin. Yep. And I told you about them back on, August the 9th, August the 5th, and November the 17th of last year. And if you had followed my lead, if you had said, hey, he knows what the hell he's talking about, I need to buy some Modine, you would have doubled your money. Now, what I'm telling you is you got another chance. You got another opportunity. Modine is a company that has found a niche, and it basically owns it at this point. There is, as far as I can find, there's none of the other heating and air conditioning people who are saying, hey, we've got some swimming pools that are vacated in downtown New York City that we can put your computers in so that they can take care of autonomous automobiles. Okay? Remember where you heard it first. You heard it first from me back in November. I introduced you to Neil Brinker. The question is, did you buy his stock? The question is, are you going to buy his stock now? I suggest you do. And I can tell you the price that you should buy it at. I keep it on my cheat sheet. It's on my website, bestofusinvestors.com. I keep a cheat sheet, and I say, based on the analysis I've done and the knowledge that I have accumulated, this is where I want to buy Modine. And if I am able to buy it at that price, this is what I project my profits will be, my return on investment will be in the next 24 months. Now, I also then say, okay, if I'm unable to buy it at that price, and I buy it at today's price, what do I project my return on an investment? That's on my second level of my cheat sheet. I do this for about 34 stocks. This is what I do. It's all around data centers. It's all around artificial intelligence and semiconductors. This is my specialty. I'm a neurosurgeon when it comes to that element of the investment world. I have nothing to do with food and utilities and construct. I want to be the smartest guy in the room when you sit down to the table about artificial intelligence, semiconductors, and the biggest growth opportunity in our world. Because the next area that this will affect is that of healthcare. And I know who's going to lead that drive. So, I'm Kerry Grinkmeyer. I'm a retired financial advisor. I've only got one last shot at this, but it's going to be a big one because I understand what is happening. I know how these companies interrelate to each other. I recognize those data centers have to be cooled because that computer is now generating 8 times, 10 times the amount of heat that those old ones did, and they've got to be cooled. And there's only one company that's stepping up to the plate. And the batter is called Neil Brinker. Give him a look. Do your research. Do your due diligence. And then come join our tribe. That's our tribe. Best of us investors, we're going to win at this game because we're playing it as a team sport. Talk to you again tomorrow.